Hey, what's up, folks? It's Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, the channel that always has your back and tells it like it is. Well, today's video is going to be all about competition. So we're going to be talking about who exactly are Jasmy's competitors. Where do we have overlap? Is there anyone who's an exact competitor? We're going to answer that in today's video, and then I'm going to sum this all up with some final thoughts for where we stand. So what could happen in the future? We'll try to tackle that in the final thoughts, as well as just kind of how all these different competitors rank. So it should be very interesting. It took me a really long time to gather all this research together, so hopefully you find this useful in terms of competition for Jasmy. So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you click the bell, you'll be made aware whenever I post time-sensitive content just like this. And now, let's get it going. All right, so I don't remember exactly what the inspiration was for this video or why exactly I decided to look at competitors of Jasmy. But it's kind of been brought up at different times throughout the past. And I think there's a lot of FUD out there in the market. And I'm not sure if everybody has a clear picture of who the competitors are or why and where the technology differs. So that's what I'm trying to do in this video, is hopefully explain some of this to you all. Now, I thought about going to the various websites for these companies, but this video would just get way too long. So I kind of combined it all into one easy to read spreadsheet. All right. So starting up top here, we've got Jasmy up top. So Jasmy right now, symbol JASMY or JMY if you're in Japan. The market cap was roughly 350 million. And let me say the market caps, I took all of these yesterday, which would have been the 19th. So they may have fluctuated a little from yesterday to today. But essentially, the domicile location for Jasmy is Tokyo, Japan. The purpose is IoT, data democratization, metaverse, AI. In terms of technology, so we have the personal data locker. That is kind of the unique distinguishing feature of Jasmy, the personal data locker. With that, we have the Felicia chip technology that was developed at the Sony Computer Lab. And we've got Secure Knowledge Communicator and Secure Guardian. And with all of this, we have Edge AI that's then applied to the personal data locker. Okay, so all of those are sort of what make Jasmy unique. In terms of the SKC and SG, those are patented technologies. All right. So use cases for Jasmy. So teleworker monitoring. So any teleworker that used to have been in a call center who is now working from their house. We've got the fan token dynamic NFT. So this is the angle with Sagan Tosu, the football club, or if you're in the U.S., the soccer team. I know everybody else in the world does not refer to them that way. Totally get it. Anyways, the fan token dynamic NFT gives you kind of exclusive access to the team. The more involved you are, the higher up in rank you go within that NFT. So that's pretty cool. We've also got the Happiness Project. We've got some autonomous vehicle angles here with the IoT network. We've got the metaverse. We've got travel, etc. So some of Jasmy's partners, most of these partners were announced pretty early on. You can find them all on their website, which is right here, this jasmy.global. As well as I've got the official Japanese site, jasmy.co.jp. But we've got Vio, WITS, Transcosmos, Mysticos, Centrality, Applix, JNA, Esoft Things, Kuzit, Borks, Sagan Tosu, Nippon Travel Agency, Secure NFT, etc. So that's Jasmy in a nutshell, is kind of a quick hitter view of it. Now, who's the competition? So here we go. So these are the various companies I was able to find. It is possible there's more out there than this. I mean, bear in mind, there's like 10,000 cryptocurrencies, so there may have been a few that I missed. That could easily be possible, but hopefully I've got some of the main ones in here. So first of all, we have the MXC in particular. So this company is based in Berlin, Germany, as well as St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So just kind of north of the northern tip of South America, right? Island nation. So, what's the purpose of MXC? Well, essentially, it's to publish, sell, trade data on an NFT marketplace. So, tech is basically IoT and metaverse. It's crowdsourced IoT network, metaverse, mining, staking. In this one in particular, I want to say this one had a lot to do with mining with it. So the website here is mxc.org or the Data Dash app. You can find that in your Apple App Store, or probably your Android App Store. I have Apple in particular, so that's where I found it. In terms of partners, I didn't list any there because this one is a crowdsourced IoT network. Okay. Now another competitor, and by the way, let me just say that with MXC, I don't really view them as an exact competitor. They don't really, even though they're IoT and they're metaverse, that's probably about the only overlap they have with Jasmy at the moment. Next, we have VeChain. So if you haven't heard of VeChain, you're probably living under a rock. They're one of the most popular cryptocurrencies out there. They're really popular. Symbols VET. The market cap as of yesterday was 1.9 billion. They're based in San Marino, which I actually had to look up. I had no idea where San Marino was, and it's a independent nation in Italy. Kind of reminds me of the Vatican, right? So that's where they are at, as well as they have satellite locations in Europe, Asia, and the USA. What this one is for VeChain is basically supply chain management. And what it does is it involves these RFID tags and blockchain. So essentially, all they do is they put a tag on something like a case of beer, and then they scan it all the way through the logistical process. And you can find every time it was scanned and then make efficiencies and improve on inefficiencies. That's the whole idea. Okay. So it's a much better way in the future of managing your product as you're putting it out there. So, with that, use cases, you can publish, sell, trade data on an NFT marketplace. Some of their partners, they got some big time partners. They got BMW, Walmart, Sam's Club. Walmart and Sam's Club are basically the same thing. Sam's Club is based on Sam Walton, founder of Walmart. Okay. Bayer, as well as numerous others. So, in terms of websites, we got vchain.org, .com. We've got VeChain Pro and VeChain Thor Wallet. These were apps. Okay. So now, in regards to VeChain, they're a little different because again, we're talking about an RFID tag. Jasmy isn't doing anything with RFID tags. So even though they're working with IoT, they are working with supply chain in particular. Jasmy isn't really focused on supply chain. That's not their bread and butter. So even though they're IoT and they're in this chart, I don't know if they're an exact competitor. I really don't think so. Right. Next, we've got Helium, the HNT token, 1.2 billion. Helium is based in San Francisco. So this could be the one that I've heard about in the past that they said they had a competitor in the US. And maybe that's Helium in particular. Okay. So low volume data to the internet at low cost is the purpose. So now, with this, again, it's a little bit different. So, it's a decentralized IoT network and 5G hotspot bundle. So, this is kind of involving a decentralized network. Kind of reminds me of another cryptocurrency called Dent that I reviewed quite a while ago, Dent Wireless. All right. So that's where Helium is wireless network, mining, staking, smart city. Apparently, they had this rolling out to like 260 plus cities across the US. So, numerous cities. Some of their partners are Dish Network, Bobcat, Freedom FI, etc. And here's their sites, helium.com. And then we have the Helium Hotspot app. Okay, so again, it's IoT, it's a network, but it doesn't really overlap with Jasmy because here we're talking about 5G hotspots as well as smart cities. Jasmy hasn't really talked about either one of those things. So it's sort of a competitor, but not really. All right. Moving on, we've got Fetch AI. Fetch AI is one of my personal favorites. I've been following them for a long time. And never mind that. Okay. Next, we've got Fetch AI, who's one of my personal favorites, who I've been following for quite a long time. Their symbol is FET, market cap 65 million. It's really dropped significantly with market going down. But why they are so impressive, they are based in Cambridge. Okay. So it's AI blockchain solutions. So it's a decentralized AI network. They have sort of their own services here, Atomics, Metallics, services, travel, Mobix, digital twins, co-learn marketplace, unified agent platform. It's all about these um, artificial intelligence transactions. So they deal a lot with like autonomous vehicles, decentralized social media, travel, file sharing, staking. Some good examples of them that I saw on their site when I reviewed them previously is something like a smart sign. So when you're driving down the road, it'll pick up that your car is coming by and it'll immediately tailor the sign to you. That's pretty neat. They can also do it with parking spots in like a really busy metropolitan city. They can instantly find you parking spots so you're no longer driving around endlessly for hours looking to park. So lots of really cool angles with them. Fetch AI is partnered with Bosch, Siemens, Festo, University of Cambridge. Obviously, that's massive. They've got the fetch.ai site as well as the app. And they've got a mainnet. You can stake, you can earn. This is some of the stuff that Jasmy doesn't have yet. So if you want to see something like a Fetch AI, that's kind of what I've been talking about, the Jasmy could use potentially in the future, right? Next, we've got IOTA. So symbols MyOTA, $863 million market cap based out of Berlin, Germany, proprietary IoT network. So for them in particular, the tech is something called Tangle, a proprietary system that confirms IoT transactions. So this is kind of like going in overlap with Jasmy a little bit. Now, use cases are auto, global trade, supply chain. That kind of overlaps with VeChain, right? Border management, digital ID, smart city, industrial IoT, e-health. Some of their partners, Jaguar, Land Rover, Dell, Moby, those are all massive partnerships, okay? For a site, we've got iota.org or the Firefly wallet. So they have a wallet, okay? So looking at them in comparison to Jasmy, I'm not really seeing a strong overlap with them, okay? Now, moving on, we've got Ocean Protocol. Ocean, in particular, let me see here. I don't have their domicile written, but it's Singapore. They're domiciled in Singapore. The market cap's 119 million. They are a data marketplace, so a decentralized data marketplace. So they've got Ocean Market, data farming, data bounties. Some of their partners, Daimler, Moby, Dex Freight, etc. You can find them at oceanprotocol.com. And as far as I know, I don't think they have an app yet. But anyhow, they are based in Singapore, even though I forgot to type that in there. Moving on down. This was a really interesting one. Somebody told me to look into this one, this MDT. So this is a mobile, I think it was mobile data token, something like that. Anyhow, this one, its symbol MDT, market cap is only 22 million. So this is really little. Okay. So you compare this to Jasmy, for example. Jasmy's market cap is 350 million, significantly higher. This one's only 22, but they're roughly based, they're kind of all over on this one. A little bit San Francisco, a little bit Hong Kong, a little bit Singapore. Decentralized data exchange, okay? Decentralized data platform using measurable AI. This sounds like a strong overlap to Jasmy because Jasmy's using their edge AI with their data, right? Well, this is decentralized data platform using measurable AI. So the use cases are smart contracts, compensate users for data, reward me, tracks data transactions. We're talking about food delivery, ride hailing, and e-commerce is what they're focused on. So now we're not really talking about the same things as Jasmy, because remember, Jasmy is focused on the fan token, the happiness project. We do have autonomous vehicles in there, but with metaverse, travel. So again, a little bit different, but definitely some very strong similarities. The two of them could easily sort of overlap if they wanted to, if they got into the same use cases. For them in particular, it's mainly just centralized exchange partners. And they've got, so their site, mdt.io, as well as they've got MailTime, they've got measurable.ai. That's a site. They have the Reward Me app. They have MeFi. They've got all kinds of stuff going on with this one. That one's actually really impressive for a little project. So I would say out of all of these so far, in terms of just straight up IoT network, they are probably the biggest competitor, but they are the smallest currently. Okay. So pretty interesting there. MDT. That was a good find. I don't know if it was Joe Dirt sent me that. Somebody sent me that one. Anyways, moving on. Now here's some other ones that sort of overlap. So Chili's. Chili's is also a strong competitor, right? So Chili's is the symbol CHZ. Most recent market cap 714 million, based in Malta. It's exclusive NFT memberships. So this in particular is a direct competitor to the fan token. This is exactly what this is. So fan tokens for any sport or entertainment. Here are some of their partners. Now their partners, this is just like a big list of bragging rights. FC Barcelona, Juventus, Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester City, Arsenal. We got AC Milan, Portugal, Italian Nacional, the Philadelphia 76ers. So they made it into the NBA, the New England Patriots of the NFL, Formula One, UFC. We've got Ronaldo and Messi, not one of them, but both of them. All right. Team Vitality, Valencia, etc. And they have two sites here. One is chili's.com and the other is socios.com. That's kind of the main one when you're using them. So they, in particular, I think, are a direct competitor to the fan token. Now, what's interesting out of all those partnerships is really none of those are based in Asia. Okay, so that's where Jasmy could have a leg up here. They're definitely none of these are in Japan at all. None of these competitors, by the way, none of them whatsoever are in Japan, as far as I know. Okay. Um, yeah, maybe IOTA could potentially be listed on an exchange there, or Helium, but other than that, none of them. All right, moving on. Dapper Labs. So Dapper Labs has the Flow token, or you can find them at flow.com or the Dapper wallet. What they are known for is, in particular, NBA Top Shot. Okay, so these are NFT collectibles. So again, this is different. This is not the fan token. So this is like sporting moments. So when LeBron James has an epic dunk and dunks right on top of some dude and he falls over, and he's flexing his muscles or whatever, they can make an NFT out of that and they can sell that later. So what's interesting in particular about Flow and Dapper Labs is that there are numerous NBA players that have invested into this company. So that's why the NBA in particular is really big on it. But it could easily expand much further than this. It's just getting started in the NFL, for example. So some of the other partnerships, UCF Strike, or UFC Strike, excuse me. I went to UCF, but that's a side comment. Anyways, UFC Strike. So with Flow, though, I do not see them as a direct Jasmy competitor. So far out of this whole list, I see MDT and I see Chili's as being the strongest competitors to Jasmy, right? Now, moving down, this is worth mentioning because this is who they're trying to dethrone. GAFA, Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon. Okay. Now, what's interesting when you look at their market caps, so Google is 1.5 trillion, Apple is 2.44 trillion. Massive market cap, massive. Facebook 476 billion, Amazon 1.2 trillion. Okay. They're all based in Silicon Valley with the exception of Amazon. Google and Apple are basically tech companies. Facebook, for the most part, is a social media company. And Amazon is really e-commerce and a tech company. Now, this is where they really start to differ is in some of the tech/use cases, and there is some overlap here. But for Google in particular, it's AI, search engine, online advertising, cloud computing, software, quantum computing, e-commerce, and consumer electronics. Apple is consumer electronics, software, online services. Facebook, for the most part, is social media network, but it is also consumer electronics, even though I didn't have that listed. Amazon, e-commerce, cloud computing, streaming, and AI. Okay, so there are some AI aspects in here, which is pretty interesting, right? Now, in terms of partners, I didn't list any here. Obviously, you know the sites. The question we get asked a lot in the community is, well, why doesn't if Facebook, for example, has the most data, let's say they have the most user data, why don't they just invent their own Jasmy? Well, they probably could, or they could try. But oftentimes, what happens with these really big companies like this, especially the GAFA companies, is they'll just buy up other companies that are doing it well. That's what they do consistently. Facebook bought Instagram. Facebook bought WhatsApp. So when someone else starts to do it better or in a different way, they can basically just kind of gobble them up. And as long as it makes it past the US monopoly laws, essentially, they're able to do that. And so, could a Facebook gobble up a company like, for example, this MDT? Wow, think of that. That could absolutely happen. Could they gobble up a Japanese company like Jasmy? Not really. I don't really see that happening, right? It's just too far of a stretch. One's domiciled in Tokyo, the other's domiciled Silicon Valley, US. I just don't see that working. But this MDT, which, depending on where you look for them, it sort of looks like they're domiciled Singapore. I think the head guy's in Hong Kong, but he's also been in San Francisco a lot. So if they were domiciled in San Francisco, could Facebook come along and buy them? Hey, they absolutely could. And would that be a direct competitor to Jasmy? In a way, yes. Um, in other ways, no, right? So it would be a direct competitor in the sense of compensating users for their data, of having multiple apps to tokenize the experience with game theory. But it's not really a direct competitor because they're not dealing with fan token. They're not dealing with autonomous vehicles. They're not dealing with travel. They could be dealing with metaverse. That's true. They're not dealing with teleworker monitoring or anything like that. And so Jasmy still has that unique edge on those things. All right. So, anyhow, with all of this information, I really just wanted to share this to let you know who the competitors are and who sort of isn't competitors. Now, is there anybody who's like an exact replica competitor? No, I don't think so. So, what I want to do now is sum all this up in the final thoughts, bring this one on home for where we stand in terms of competition, and answer the question of, is this a good thing? All right, so if you still got your bourbon and biscuits, now it's time for the final thoughts. So, who do I think are the top 3 competitors to Jasmy? Well, number one, the MDT, the data token, I think that's absolutely a competitor in terms of the IoT network and compensating users for their data. Now, with them in particular, remember they had the small market cap at only 22 million, but they've got numerous apps that are out there. They've got it tokenized, they've got game theory. It applies in the US, it's English, it's easy to follow. Definitely a competitor and one to keep an eye on, okay? Number 2, Chili's. So Chili's has the fan token, and more importantly, they've got some massive, massive partnership deals. All those teams that I listed, the UFC, Formula One, the New England Patriots, Messi, Ronaldo, you name it, they got it. They've got everybody there for those fan tokens. So what they don't have, though, in particular with Jasmy, is they don't have anything in Asia. They don't have anything in Japan. So there is still a very strong market for Jasmy all throughout Asia as well as Japan. Now, for Jasmy to break into, some of these other large sporting leagues, that would be a lot harder because I would imagine that these contracts are probably existing and would go on for a certain amount of years, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, number 3, in terms of GAFA, who's their biggest competitor? Obviously, it's Facebook. That's probably the no-brainer here. It's definitely Facebook. Facebook is the holder of, I would argue, probably the most user data, with the exception of potentially Google. Google would definitely be a competitor as well, but more so Facebook. Also, Facebook is definitely known for gobbling up little companies that start these little niche areas and just do it better, right? They're not really known for, the argument that people say, they go, well, why doesn't Facebook just invent Jasmy? They can't, okay? It's also taken Jasmy like 6 years just to get to where they are now, and it's still in beta, okay? So it takes a really long time to do this. So you know what's a lot easier is to just gobble up a little company, who's doing exactly what you want, and then expand out from there. And if they manage it properly, if they execute, then it could be a really good investment, right? So, case in point that I made earlier, something like an Instagram or a WhatsApp. There's a lot of people out there that aren't on Facebook. I personally am not on Facebook. Am I on Instagram? Sure, I'm on Instagram. I like the little snippet views of things, right? It appeals to me. The big view on Facebook doesn't really appeal to me, so I don't really do that, okay? So it's a good example, though, of where Instagram does it a little bit different and does it in a better way than Facebook did. And rather than Facebook reinvent the wheel, they just buy the Instagram brand. People like the Instagram brand. And there's a lot of people that don't know that Facebook owns Instagram. So that's exactly what could happen here with that MDT, okay? So in terms of competitors, when you think about cryptocurrency and blockchain, really, I don't know if any of those others really directly align. They sort of do in different ways and sort of don't in others, okay? There's some overlaps in just terms of a general IoT network. There's some overlaps in terms of autonomous vehicles. I didn't see any overlap whatsoever for the teleworkers with the secure knowledge communicator or secure guardian. I didn't see that at all. We've definitely got overlap on the fan token for sure. But overall, in terms of where the competition is at, there is competition. However, it's not really at a level that would be concerning, that it would knock Jasmy out of being a competitor. What Jasmy has going for it right now is they have Japan. That's the number one ace that they're holding here. That's the high card, is Japan, the country of Japan and the government of Japan pushing Web3 Society 5.0, IoT, Metaverse, all these things. That's their number one ace that they got going for them, okay? Number two, that they're Asia-based, that they have that going for them. I also don't think there's anybody else that directly is a exact copycat competitor of them in any way. So I really think, the former Sony leadership that founded Jasmy really has played an important role in this and sort of differentiating them and creating something unique. And maybe that's how this idea originated, was just to sort of make something unique that's different, that could be unique to Japan. And that's kind of where they're going with it, okay? So overall, though, where this all stands is competition is always a good thing. It's better to have more competition than less. Because when you have less competition, prices go up, companies get sloppy. We don't want that. So, we want Jasmy to be doing well. Now, obviously Jasmy recently, there's been a lot of mixed messages, a lot of third-party buzzing around in everybody's ear. All that stuff's irrelevant. One of the members of our group actually pointed out the other day, and I thought it was a very, very good insight, was that if you look at the marketing of Jasmy in Japan in particular, it's actually really good. They actually have some really good marketing in Japan. Japan is their focus. Japan is the guinea pigs, basically. Japan is where they're testing this out. It's where they're going to do the proof of concept. If they can do it there, then they can roll it out to other places. But Japan is extremely important in this equation. So that's what makes this really, really unique. So overall, are there competitors? Yes, absolutely there are competitors. There are IoT network competitors. There's competitors regarding blockchain and driverless vehicles. But there's some things here that really make the Jasmy project very unique overall. And that's why I still really like Jasmy. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens with some of those other competitors. So I would say moving forward, if you're going to be investing in Jasmy, you probably also want to be looking at that MDT as well as Chile's CHZ. The two of those are probably the strongest competitors out there, so it'd be a good thing to keep an eye on them and see how they progress as well. All right? So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. Don't forget that I am also on Twitter at KIR Finance, where you can find me tweeting and retweeting on a regular basis. Check me out there. You can also now become a monthly sustainer over at the Patreon page. Help us out. That'd be great. I'm also doing a mentorship, one-on-one stuff. So if you want to do that, up your finance game, by all means, let me know. That'd be awesome. And lastly, for a friendly reminder, this is Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, channel that always has your back, tells it like it is, and I will see you on the next one. Later.